I am Chabss, and this is my 6 months progress to my game. This is the first devlog of my game called Stoffs and Magic. Yes, the Stoffs is spelled with AU in it. It started last year around like October. It is just to be like a simple game jam entry at that time. But after the game jam, I can't stop thinking about it. Like I feel there's potential in it. Like when I finish this game, people gonna enjoy and love it. So I started developing it again, rebranding it to Stoffs and Magic. This game is risk-bound, where you fight enemy waves, get upgrades, and over time the enemy will be stronger until you can't beat it anymore. The game is heavily inspired by the Soul Knight, a dungeon game where you collect weapons and go through randomly generated floors, and Delicious in Dungeon where adventurers cook and eat monsters to survive in the dungeon. Now that you have an idea on what is the game about, let's move on to what I've built this past months. Let's start with the player. The player has 2 scripts, one for input, one for stats. I just prefer keeping things separate so each one handles its own responsibility. Next enemies, I have 3 types. First enemy is Jello. It shoots a projectile at you, and on hit it leaves a puddle on the ground. That puddle deals damage over time and slows you down. So even after you dodge the shot, you still have to watch where you're stepping. If you're in a room with multiple Jellos, the floor gets messy fast. Next is Apple Spear. This enemy always has its spear pointed directly at you no matter where you move. At a distance it's manageable, but the moment you get too close it switches into chase mode and it does not stop. It will follow you through other enemies, across the entire room, so either deal with it from range or be ready to keep moving. Last one is Cookie Charge. The concept is inspired by the sloth sin from FMA Brotherhood, something slow that hits extremely hard. When it detects you, it locks on and charges straight at you, dealing a good chunk of damage on impact. It also hurts itself from the charge, which doesn't really help you when it spawns in a small closed room and you have nowhere to go. Now let's move on to the weapons. As of now, I have 5. First is the normal staff. Basic attack is straightforward, nothing special. But when you use the skill, the damage goes up and the projectile gets noticeably larger, which makes it easier to land. It's the most simple weapon in the game, good for understanding how the staff system works. Ice Staff is your basic shot on regular attack. Use the skill and it deals more damage and applies a slow on the enemy. That slow gives you a window to reposition or line up your next shot without the enemy closing the gap. Pretty useful when things start getting crowded. Mana Staff cannot deal damage and cannot fire projectiles. Its only job is giving you mana. That sounds underwhelming, but depending on what other staff you're carrying, mana can be the difference between using your skill or not. It only makes sense depending on your build. Umbrella Staff shoots from the tip of the umbrella for its basic attack. The skill is where it gets interesting. When you activate it, the umbrella blocks all incoming projectiles directed at you. Not melee, not area damage, strictly projectiles. It completely changes how you approach certain fights, especially against enemies that spam shots. Against the boss, this staff becomes almost necessary. Force Staff gives you a dash when you use the skill. In a game where enemies chase you and rooms get tight, that mobility is genuinely useful. The trade-off is that firing the basic projectile costs mana, so you're managing mana for the shots. Use it carelessly and you'll run out at the wrong moment. Now let's talk about the dungeon generation. This part took the most time to build, but I'm not going to go deep into how the generation works, because that deserves its own dedicated video. What I want to talk about is what's inside the dungeon. The dungeon creates rooms connected by corridors. When you enter a room, all the exits close and enemies spawn in a wave. The exits only open again once the wave is cleared. After clearing a room, you get a chest with drops. There are also special rooms with no enemies. Statue room. Upgrade your weapons here using food. Campfire room. Cook ingredients you find on the ground. Trade room. Convert coins into food for upgrades. There are also boxes that spawn in combat rooms. 3 types. Normal box. When you shoot it, it just disappears. Poison box. When you shoot it, it releases a poison cloud that affects both enemies and the player. Fire box. Same as the poison box, but with fire instead. Now about ingredients. You get ingredients by killing enemies. Each enemy has a chance to drop their own ingredient. Like the apple enemy might drop a piece of apple. That kind of thing. The mini-map will guide you through the dungeon. The color of each room on the mini-map changes depending on what type of room it is. Last thing for this devlog, the first boss. It's a larger version of Jello. I'm just gonna let the video talk for itself. It has a lot of abilities. Without the Umbrella Staff, it's a rough fight. That's everything I have to show for now. The dungeon generation still has some issues. Sometimes it produces something like this. Still working on that. If you want to follow the progress, subscribe and like the video. See you in the next one.